teacher friends. So today we're going to talk about over-scaffolding. We've talked previously about scaffolding, but have you ever wondered if you are over-scaffolding? Have you ever reflected in your practice and thought, I'm definitely over-scaffolding? It's not something that I had previously put a ton of focus on, but at the time of this recording, we're heading into the beginning of the new school year. We are virtual teaching, and I think it's important to reflect at this time since we've just gotten our WIDA scores and we're reviewing the scores and we're thinking, yes, that student grew, or no, that student is plateauing again, or this student did not do as well as I thought they would. So right now is a good time to go into the year with our scaffolds in mind and reevaluate them as the year goes. So we're going to talk about two things that can show you that you might be over scaffolding. So one is that your students do not grow on their assessments, their state assessments, or your classroom assessments, informal assessments. They're just not showing you mastery of the skills and of the standards. That is definitely should show you that you need to reflect on your instructional strategies and adjust somewhere. And then you need to look at your students' individual scores and think, okay, is this just with this student, or are some of my students, or are a group of my students not growing maybe in a particular domain? Do I need to look at my teaching skills, for example, in listening? Do I need to practice that more? Do I need to pull back and let them struggle with that? So that's one thing that we need to reflect on and see how our strategies are pushing them to grow, because that's the ultimate thing we want. We want to push them just enough so that they can grow, and not so much that we're going to overwhelm them, because I think that is definitely easy. And I also want to acknowledge here that we love to hold our students' hands, I think, sometimes, or we love to be the one to kind of come to the rescue. For example, if a student's not doing so well in a content area class, we love to go to them and say, hey, I've got some great scaffold ideas for you, I've got some great resources, this is what you can use with this student to help them be successful in your class. We love to do that stuff, but are we doing it, and are we hindering our students in the process? So we have to think, really, we have to look at their scores. If you're a WIDA state, look at their WIDA scores. Definitely scaffold at that score at the beginning of the year, and as they grow throughout the year, and as they end the year, for example, if you have a beginner, use those beginner scaffolds. Now, as they go through the year, we're going to start using more high beginning scaffolds, and hopefully end out the year using some more intermediate level scaffolds. So we want to pull some back from them, take them away, and see how they do. Sometimes they might not be ready, and that's okay. Every student is different, but we definitely want to push them to see. The second way is that they cannot do the you do portion of your gradual release of responsibility lesson. So it's a way that you can structure your lessons, that you can scaffold it. For example, if you don't know what gradual release is, you do the I do, we do, they do, and you do. And so technically by the end of the class, at the you do, they should be able to do their work on their own. Well, that's the goal, right? So if you're scaffolding too much, you might be giving them too many scaffolds in the I do, we do, and even the they do, to the point where when they get to you do, they just cannot do it. And again, they might not be ready, but you have to look at your individual students and see and think what they're capable of, because you know your students the best. So in the gradual release of responsibility model, in the they do, sometimes you can tell like, ooh, they're not grasping this and they are relying too much on their group member, right? And sometimes you can tell they're not going to be able to do this at the you do portion. So again, it's looking at the individual students, looking at their WIDA scores, pushing them just enough so that we are taking some scaffolds back and seeing if they can do it on their own. And then if they can't, we just need to reevaluate. So it is better to do that than to over-scaffold, because at that point they can use their scaffolds as a crutch. They can use those translation devices as a crutch. They can use those word banks and sentence stems as a crutch to the point where they're not going to know how to move to the next level. So I hope you enjoyed those two ways that you can tell if you might be over-scaffolding by their assessments and by the you do portion of your lesson, if they can do it or not. So I'd love if you would subscribe and leave to me in the comments what you think. What are some other ways that you think that you can tell if you are over-scaffolding or not? Also, is this something that you have reflected on before? Or maybe did this give you an aha moment? Because it kind of did for me when this was brought up to me a couple school years ago. So again, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks. Bye-bye.